Appetite for Destruction, the debut and only album from Guns N' Roses. Long ago when we did our Van Halen debut review, we discussed a little bit about what you guys in the comments think is the best debut of all time, and we heard a lot of Appetite for Destruction.
Even to this day, there's songs on here that are still relevant and still used. And also import that every album after this was...
What album?
Exactly.
I know you were excited to do this one mainly because we're featuring your inspiration, idol, and really role model, Axl Rose. You do have to give him credit though. Like, while I don't like the grandma-ish timbre of his voice, he can soar through those high notes, and he really fits this kind of music too.
The grandma, that's a good... Yeah, that really does fit.
We discussed this before too. I had no idea why you had such a burning, passionate hatred for Axl Rose. And then I looked up his bio, and I also now have a burning, passionate hatred for Axl Rose.
He's a real piece of shit.
The way I like to look at this album is like a beautiful chain of islands, like the Florida Keys. These beautiful, majestic paradise islands just surrounded in a sea of formula. But you know, once you get to those islands, it's pretty nice. Without further bovine excrement, I'm Darius King.
And I'm Metalhead.
This is Welcome to the Jungle. One of the most iconic guitar intros ever, and probably not even the most iconic guitar intro on this album.
Excellent opening track. It's explosive, great lyrics, great melodies, and music in general. It's important. The first like 10, 12 seconds have to be just really captivating, and this song is perfect for that.
Beautiful delay and reverb really give it that massive stadium sound. No idea what the fuck that siren sound is, but it's fucking amazing. And I love the really smooth transition out of the heavy reverb into that main bluesy lick.
The arrangement and the structure of the song and the lyrics is like almost in a storytelling type way. From Guns N' Roses, it's like, it's astonishing.
Yeah, but the last thing I need is Asshole Rose sounding like he's getting a train run on him by Jussie Smollett's White MAGA Nigerians. Yeah. But the song oozes energy from front to back, even during the slower clean section that's like the part of the Tower of Terror when you're right at the top looking over the whole park, and then you just drop out of nowhere. And then that rhythmic tribal section that takes us to the end is also fantastic. What an opener. I give it an 8.
It stays so relevant even to this day.
Every football game, high school, college, NFL, this is what you have to play at kickoff.
I give it an 8.5.
Remember when we were talking about the Tower of Terror?
Yeah.
That's the vibe going from the opener to this one right here. There are some nice instrumental aspects that I do enjoy from it, like the staccato chords and the overall progression, at least the first 690 times that we hear it. But yeah, overall, utterly atrocious approach from Asshole Rose, who sounds like he's doing a parody. It's not even like he can't reach those high notes. He's more than capable of doing that. And then there are also parts where his normal voice peaks in almost to be like, you know, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. This song is an immediate crash and burn. It's a decent, solid riff, but yeah, it's really formulaic.
Well, the instrumental is not really anything too groundbreaking or anything to write home about. It is a nice backdrop, of course, to what sounds like the aftermath of Axl's trip to Chipotle. I like the meaning behind the lyrics and how the lifestyle can feel so empty of just, you know, banging girls all the time, but I just wish that were obvious from the lyrics. I only found out about that because of the interview that the bass player did. We give it a 5.
Oh, I give it a 5 also. Well.
This is basically just, it's so easy, except what it would sound like if Axl decided to contribute. But it's got high energy, it's feel good, and that signature Guns N' Roses sound, so I give it a 6. Nothing necessarily special about this track, but it's high energy, feel good, and that signature Guns N' Roses sound. Mr. Brownstone. Speaking of Van Halen, I like the atomic punk intro here. I actually really like that funky 70s guitar here too. It goes so much better than I would expect with that hard rock kind of sound.
My favorite thing about this song is how it's like something new. Great drum and like wanky guitar intro. The lyrics are great, and they also fit kind of like Welcome to the Jungle in terms of portraying a story. It has a really good melody, and the structure is great.
Yeah, and I actually really enjoy Axl's performance here too. It matches the mood of the song, and he brings a lot of energy to it.
Me too.
Also one of my favorite Slash solos on here, very Zakk Wylde-esque. Very nice and much needed change up in the track list. I give it a 7.
I give it a 7 also. Wow.
Alright, welcome back to Shore. The clean, almost Lynyrd Skynyrd type riff contrasts really well with Steven Adler's hard hits. One of Axl's best performances on here too, aside from the totally out of place synthesizer, which was just like the most random bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
It was cool to see it. I didn't think it was terrible, but yeah, it was really just like, whoa, like where did this come from?
I'm not a synth hater, but it's just like you're in the middle of this hard rock song and then It's like this mosquito. And once the song really kicks in, he has a really nice tremolo effect to the end of each line, which I thought was a really nice accent.
Great chorus that really structured well to like get anybody really singing along.
One of the best ever, yeah.
The absolute best part of the song. Great explosion of rock outro. That was really well done.
And the verses are really well written too to describe the inner contrast of living in urban life. Standout track on the album. I give it an 8.
Give it a 7.5.
I really like the nice change of pace on here. I do. Oh, never mind. Let's just get Sweet Child of Mine. Possibly the most recognizable guitar intro ever, which I'm not going to play because copyright.
The intro is incredible. My favorite aspect, it sounds so bad and so good at the same time.
I know
It's
what
really,
you mean.
know what I mean? Like, it's really like, and you're like, oh, that's bad. But then you're like, actually, you know, it's pretty good.
I think it's the feel that Slash puts into it that gives it that effect. He must have used some kind of like single coily thing on there because it has kind of that tone. I think all that blends together into the best worst guitar riff, just like you were talking about.
The build-up is great. Great rhythm and good lyrics. It's like, why couldn't this be the entire track list?
We haven't gotten a build-up like this really since the opener, but what's cool about this one is that the release is into a much happier, much more upbeat feel. The low-gain rhythm does so much to contribute to that feeling, too, and my favorite Axl performance on the album as well. He sounds much smoother, and as usual, is perfect switching the tremolo on and off.
Energy was very high and also dreamy. Overall, like, just a great jam.
Of the big hits, though, it's probably the least diverse, but where it wins me over is the feel-good mood that it sets. One that sets itself apart, really, from everything else we've heard on the album so far. Even the hits, so I'd give this one a 7.5.
Give this one an 8.
Oh, there's more?
Unfortunately, yeah.
I'm really liking the phaser and the flange on this one, and finally Izzy and Steve are up front and center.
It is a differentiation of what we've heard, but it's only for about 45 seconds to a minute, and then it's just this time loop again.
Yeah, sadly it evolves into one of those composite image songs again, but the additional chorus and flange effects on the vocals and guitars I think do a good job of separating at least a little bit from some of the earlier stuff, have its own identity. Also one of the better vocal melodies that I heard from Axl on the hook. The whale mating noises they add too are pretty cool and dreamy. And then look, what do you know? Human mating noises too. I thought it was a nice closer, so I'd give it a 7.
I give it a 5.5.
Wow, I like how it's on the positive side still.
Yeah.
Overall, although this album isn't too friendly to our normal format of track by track, I still feel it was brilliantly done. It sounded very much like the #1 goal here was to churn out radio hits, and while of course not every single one is going to hit, the amount that actually did is really unlike anything I think we've heard.
For 1987, it's like the perfect rock/metal album. It's got unique arrangements, and the use of different effects brings the hits of this album to life. My thing about this album is, honestly, if you cut the track list to like the 5 songs, you remove all the BS, and this album would be better. The throwaway tracks on here are really just left to rot and die and never be heard from again.
Personally, I think you would agree with this too. We're much bigger fans of the album experience. We'd take a really well-structured album with nice transitions and cool, interesting parts over an album that's even filled with all stuff that we like. That's why I'd give the best hard rock debut to Van Halen still, not just for its showcase of raw musicianship, but also for tracks like Eruption and how it just brilliantly fits together like a puzzle piece with You Really Got Me, and really the first 5 songs on there. But despite that, it's easy to see why these guys were such a sensation. And it's a shame that they never made another record. Ever again.
Ever again.
Give it a 7.
The hits are still monumental to this day. I would give this album a 6.